Hello and welcome to Diabetes Connections in the News. I'm Stacey Sims, and every other Friday I bring you a short episode with the top diabetes stories and headlines happening now. Our top story this week, new research in type 1 diabetes prevention. Nectar Therapeutics and TrialNet are going to evaluate a drug currently used for eczema in patients with new onset stage 3 type 1 diabetes. The drug is called Rezpeg, that is a very shortened version of a very long and complex name. And the study will have about 70 adults and children. It's going to launch this year. They're going to measure the efficacy of Rezpeg or placebo for preserving C-peptide for a 12-month duration. So it's 6 months of treatments and then a 6-month follow-up. Rezpeg is being developed as a self-administered injection for a number of autoimmune and inflammatory diseases. NLS Pharmaceutics reports a good meeting with the FDA, enough to move ahead with human trials for their stem cell-derived pancreatic islets that will not require immune suppression. The treatment was evaluated at the Diabetes Research Institute at the University of Miami School of Medicine. It demonstrated functional insulin release and disease reversal in animal models. It's called Islet RX, and as we said, it's going to move ahead into human clinical trials. The FDA has signed off on a rapid-acting insulin biosimilar for the first time. They've given a thumbs up to Sanofi's Marilog. That's the first biosimilar to Novo Nordisk's Novolog. Marilog will be available in a pre-filled pen or a vial. It's for adults and for kids age 6 and older. Worth noting that Novolog and Novo's other rapid-acting insulin, the Fiasp, are among the drugs subject to government price negotiations under the Inflation Reduction Act. The new prices will come at the start of next year, if nothing changes. In July of 2021, the FDA approved the first biosimilar to Lantus. Eli Lilly said this week it's going to offer more doses of its obesity drug Zepbound in vials and lowers the price of the doses it already sells. They are seeking to draw patients away from cheap compounded versions of the weight loss medications. The largest doses of tirzepatide, sold under the brand name Zepbound, typically cost just under $700. However, they are now available for $499 per month. This is for patients paying without insurance. And the company lowered the prices of smaller dose vials to $349 and $499 per month. It's worth noting that Zepbound and Mounjaro are essentially the same. This new pricing is available exclusively through Lilly's self-pay pharmacy. Much more information for this and all of the stories you hear at diabetes-connections.com. Click on this episode's homepage for all the links and more information. Medicare spending on 10 diabetes drugs, including popular GLP-1s, more than quadrupled over a 5-year period and could reach $102 billion next year. The findings come as the Trump administration weighs the fate of a Biden administration proposal that would require Medicare and Medicaid to cover GLP-1s for weight loss. Interestingly, the biggest spikes in usage were Novo's once-daily GLP-1 oral tablet, and not too surprisingly for the weekly injectable Ozempic, and spending on that doubled every year under review. Tandem Diabetes has secured a new FDA clearance for its insulin dose calculating algorithm, opening up Control-IQ for use in adults with type 2. The expanded label was based on data from a pivotal trial, more than 300 people with type 2, comparing it to manual multiple daily injections. Much more on this to come. They're going to present the study's results at the annual ATTD meeting scheduled for March in Amsterdam. Drugs approved for diabetes and obesity might be useful for the treatment of cognitive and mental health disorders. New study reviewing and integrating data from preclinical and clinical studies, gathering evidence on the possible effects of GLP-1s and semaglutide in conditions like dementia, substance use disorders, psychotic disorders, mood and anxiety disorders, and eating disorders. These researchers say more data is needed to better understand the efficacy and safety profile, especially with long-term use. The FDA is issuing draft guidance that includes recommendations to support the development and marketing of safe and effective AI-enabled devices. And the FDA is requesting public comment on the draft guidance. You need to get that in by April 7th. They also released draft guidance for the use of AI to support regulatory decision-making for drug and biological products. Congratulations to Mila Clark, who some of you may know better as Hangry Woman. She's developed a great app called Glucose Guide, and the nutrition assistant portion of that app went live this week. In a social media post, Mila says some features include a tracker that keeps blood sugar tracking aligned with meal tracking, exercise, sleep, mood, and more. It will analyze your fridge, scanning photos of your plate, and give recommendations on what to adjust for better blood sugar balance. I will link that up. You can learn more in the show notes. And finally, gold medal Olympian Jordan Childs is speaking out about diabetes. The gymnast's aunt lives with type 1, and Childs is teaming up with Sanofi to talk about autoantibody screening. So you can expect to see more of her, maybe at some events and probably on social media, talking about T1D. And that's it for In the News. Join me again next week for our regular interview episode. On Tuesday, you're going to be hearing from that couple featured in People magazine. Did you see this? They met because of the Omnipod social media account, and People magazine picked up their story. We're going to go in depth on how they really met, what they're up to now, and what they want you to know about community. And by the way, if you like what you're hearing on this podcast, please consider sharing it with somebody else or leaving a review on a podcast app wherever you are listening. That really helps us out. I'm Stacey Sims. Again, thanks so much for listening. I'll see you back here very soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.